Every single company out there, whether it's a tiny startup in a garage or a massive global giant, has a story to tell. But we're not talking about just any story. We're talking about its financial story, the one that has to convince the entire world to invest in its future. So today, we're going to break down this art and science of financial communication, and it really all kicks off with one big question. Right here. This is the core of it all. See, it's not enough to have an amazing product or a world-changing idea. You have to be able to translate that potential into a story of value, a story of confidence. How do you get investors, analysts, and, well, the public to not just believe in your vision, but to actually put their hard-earned money behind it? That right there is the challenge. So, to get started, let's nail down what we're even talking about. What exactly is financial communication? Well, at its heart, it's the bridge between a great idea and the cash it needs to become a reality. Okay, so here's the official textbook definition for you. It's a process of exchanging data about performance and prospects. I know, it sounds a little dry, maybe even a bit academic. But don't let that fool you. This exchange is the absolute lifeblood of the market. It's where decisions worth millions, sometimes even billions of dollars are made every single day. But honestly, I think a much better way to think about it is this. Financial communication is really just strategic storytelling. It's all about crafting a narrative around the numbers that's so compelling, so credible, that it builds trust and makes people want to invest. It's about turning a boring old balance sheet into a biography of where the company has been, and more importantly, a roadmap for where it's going. So if it's all about storytelling, who are the master storytellers in this high-stakes world? Let's take a look inside the expert's playbook. The whole job really boils down to three main things. First, they're on the inside, liaising with the top dogs, the board, the chairman, all the key leaders, to make sure the story is straight and everyone's on the same page. Second, they turn outwards and engage with the people who really shape how the market sees the company. We're talking financial editors, analysts, and of course the stockholders. And third, they actually create the stuff that tells the story, overseeing everything from those big glossy annual reports to shareholder meetings and press releases. And you really can't overstate how important this is. The stakes are just incredibly high. There's a line from our source that just nails it. The success of any organization depends on its ability to attract capital resources. Let me translate that. Getting this right isn't just a nice to have, it's about survival. Now you might be thinking, okay, this all sounds pretty standard, but what's fascinating is that this entire field is going through a massive shakeup right now, making it more critical than ever. And, a perfect example of this is what we've seen happening in India's economy recently. There are basically three huge forces that are completely rewriting the rules of the game. And not just in places like India, but absolutely everywhere. Let's break down what they are. First step, we've got demographic change. A whole new generation of investors is jumping into the market. They're younger, they're more diverse, and they often care a lot more about a company's values. They expect a seamless, transparent experience, and trust me, they have no problem taking their money somewhere else if they don't get it. And that leads directly into our second driver, a huge change in behavior. Today's investors are digitally empowered. They have a world of information right in their pocket. They can research a company, stack it up against competitors, see what all the experts are saying, all before they even think about clicking buy. This empowerment means companies have to be more open and honest than ever before. And of course, the third driver is technology itself. The mobile revolution and the rise of social media have totally democratized finance. People who were once completely outside the traditional banking system are now online, actively looking for financial info and advice. This has created a massive new audience that companies have to figure out how to talk to. So, with this constantly shifting landscape, it means that understanding your audience is no longer just important, it's everything. A financial story is only as good as its ability to connect with the people who are actually listening. So let's look at the two main groups here. On one side, you've got your individual stockholders. These folks are often super passionate, very active, and definitely not afraid to be vocal. For them, you need communication that's simple, clear, and easy to digest. No jargon. But then on the other side, you have the financial analysts. These are the pros. They live and breathe the stuff. They need the deep, nitty-gritty data to build their financial models and make their calls. And when you're dealing with those analysts, the rules are simple, but they are absolutely non-negotiable. You have to be responsive, you have to be open, and you have to be consistent. But my favorite part is the warning here to avoid what the source calls fluff and guff. I love that. Analysts have zero time for vague, empty marketing speak. They want the hard facts, and if you try to spend them, you'll lose all your credibility in a heartbeat. Okay, so we know who needs to tell the story and why it's so important. But how do they actually get the message out there? Let's open up the Communicator's Toolkit. The absolute cornerstone of the whole toolkit is the annual report, and it's so much more than just a bunch of numbers. This excerpt here shows what makes one really work. It should tell a story, using things like a powerful cover image, really clear graphics, and easy-to-read comparative figures. For a lot of investors, this is the single most important document a company will produce all year. But, of course, the annual report is just where it starts. The modern toolkit is a full-blown multi-channel operation. We're talking everything from face-to-face investment conferences and quarterly analyst calls to getting strategic placement in the media and even financial advertising. And that financial press piece is a whole ecosystem in itself. You've got daily newspapers that give you the big national headlines. Then you have trade magazines that do these super influential deep dives into specific industries. Cable TV gives you that broad mass audience reach. And then there are these niche market newsletters that deliver highly specialized info to the most dedicated, hardcore investors. A smart communicator knows exactly how to use each one. So, after all that, the what, the who, the why, and the how, what's the one big thing to take away? I think it's this. At the end of the day, effective financial communication isn't really about reporting numbers. It's about building and protecting trust. The numbers are the foundation, for sure. But the story you build on top of them, that's what creates real, lasting confidence and value. Which leaves us with one final thought to chew on. In this hyper-connected world we live in, where every little detail can be put under a microscope in seconds, is total transparency a company's greatest asset for building that trust? Or does it actually expose them to their biggest risks? Definitely something to think about.